Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring, the theme of innovation versus regulation in the crypto world.
Yeah.
And it looks like we've got a lot of sources here, everything from global market trends to U.S. policy shakeups,
That's right.
and even a platform that is trying to take on Worldcoin with a focus on privacy.
Yeah, we're going to see that tension play out in some pretty surprising ways,
Okay, so
including a legal victory for a pretty controversial crypto figure and, a major move by the UAE to kind of set themselves up as a global crypto hub.
all right, let's start with just kind of like a pulse check on the global crypto market.
Sure.
Been a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely, hasn't it?
Just a few days ago, the sentiment was like extreme fear.
Right.
And now it's shifted to neutral, and a lot of that is thanks to President Trump.
Oh, wow.
He made not just one, but two major announcements that really shook things up.
So before we get into those announcements, can you just give us a sense of the current state of the market?
Yeah, sure.
Like, how are things looking right now? Well, the global crypto market cap is sitting at a cool $3.07 trillion right now, with a 24-hour volume increase of over 8%.
Okay.
But here's where it gets interesting. Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance actually decreased even though their prices went up.
Wait, so how's that possible?
Yeah, it's a little counterintuitive, but
If the prices are up, shouldn't that mean they're more dominant?
well, not necessarily. It suggests that other cryptocurrencies are gaining traction, growing at a faster rate.
Right.
Take a look at Ripple XRP, for example. It's actually the top American crypto token by market cap
Really?
at a whopping $162 billion.
Wow, that is surprising.
Yeah.
Especially considering that XRP doesn't even use blockchain technology, right?
Right.
It makes you wonder if maybe traditional financial institutions are more comfortable with these like centralized systems.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. And if that's the case, it really raises some interesting questions about the future of truly decentralized finance, right? Is it possible that, the very institutions crypto is meant to disrupt could end up becoming the gatekeepers
Wow.
of this new world?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thought.
That's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those Trump announcements that sent shockwaves through the market.
Okay.
He's revealed plans for a U.S. crypto strategic reserve, which will include XRP, Solana, Cardano, Zeta, Bitcoin, and Ethereum.
Wow.
What do you make of this move?
Well, it's a bold statement for sure.
Yeah.
Trump is clearly signaling that the U.S. is going to be a major player in the crypto space.
Right.
And potentially even challenge China's, growing influence
Okay.
in the digital currency arena.
So this is about more than just attracting investment and solidifying the U.S. dollar's position.
Yeah, definitely.
There are geopolitical ramifications here as well.
Absolutely. By creating this reserve, the U.S. is basically aiming to provide stability and legitimacy to the crypto market,
Oh, okay.
which, could attract institutional investors who have been a little hesitant to jump into this volatile space.
Okay.
But it also raises some concerns about centralizing power
Yeah.
and potentially even stifling innovation. Historically, too much government intervention hasn't really been great for fostering a truly dynamic and creative tech sector.
It's a delicate balance,
It is.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. He's also hosting a crypto summit on March 7th, bringing together all these major players.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to come out of this big gathering?
Well, based on the stated goals of the summit, which include clear regulations, innovation, and economic freedom in digital assets, I think we can expect a lot of talk about the U.S. leading the way in crypto.
Right.
But whether that actually translates into any real policy changes, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
So it could be a lot of talk and not much action.
It's possible. However, the summit could also be a good opportunity for the administration to, lay out their vision for crypto regulation and get feedback from these players. We
Right.
might see, the formation of task forces or working group to address specific issues like stablecoin regulation, DeFi oversight, cybersecurity standards, those kinds of things.
Okay, so speaking of new platforms and navigating this regulatory uncertainty, let's turn our attention to this company that's claiming to offer a privacy-centric alternative to Worldcoin.
Okay.
It's called Billions.Net Network.
Interesting.
And they're using something called zero-knowledge proofs for digital identity verification.
Yeah, this is really fascinating.
So as you know, Worldcoin has gotten a lot of criticism for its use of iris scans,
Absolutely.
which a lot of people see as very invasive
Right.
and potentially risky.
Yeah.
Billions.net is positioning themselves as a more ethical and privacy-conscious option.
It sounds like it.
So instead of scanning your eyeballs, they use these zero-knowledge proofs.
Hmm.
Can you explain how that works?
Sure.
It sounds pretty complex.
It is a bit technical, but think of it like this. Imagine showing your ID to a bouncer at a club,
Okay.
but without revealing your birth date or your address. You're basically proving you're old enough to enter without sharing all that unnecessary personal information.
Okay.
That's essentially what zero-knowledge proofs allow you to do online, verify your identity without revealing all the sensitive data.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
And Billions.Net is claiming some pretty big names are using their platform already. TikTok, Deutsche Banks, HSBC.
Wow.
Are we on the verge of like a digital identity revolution?
Well, hold on a second. While the concept is incredibly promising, implementing zero-knowledge proofs at scale, that's a massive undertaking.
Okay.
There are potential scalability issues, technical hurdles to overcome,
Right.
and we need to scrutinize those adoption claims a bit more closely. Are these full-fledged integrations, or are they just like exploratory trials? The devil is often in the details.
Yeah, good point. It's definitely a wait-and-see situation for Billions.Net network.
Yeah,
But if they can pull it off, it could be a real game changer for online privacy.
for sure.
Now let's look at another development that's causing quite a stir in the crypto world. The SEC under the Trump administration has been closing investigations against several crypto companies,
Oh, wow.
including a high-profile case against Gemini that lasted a whopping 699 days.
That's a long time.
Why this sudden shift in approach?
Hmm.
Is this a sign that the SEC is becoming more crypto-friendly?
Well, it could be interpreted that way. The closures, which also include cases against OpenSea, Uniswap, and Robinhood, do seem to suggest a less adversarial stance towards the crypto industry.
Okay.
This could pave the way for more regulatory clarity
Right.
and a friendlier environment for businesses operating in the space.
Okay, but couldn't this also be seen as a weakening of investor protection?
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Is the SEC prioritizing innovation over safeguarding investors?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
It's a tough balancing act. On one hand, you want to encourage innovation and allow this nascent industry to grow. On the other hand, you have to protect investors from fraud
Right.
and ensure the market's integrity.
It seems like the SEC is trying to find that sweet spot,
Yeah,
but it's definitely a tightrope walk.
it is.
Speaking of navigating legal complexities, there's been a surprising turn of events involving Richard Hart.
Yeah.
He's kind of a controversial figure,
Right.
known for projects like PulseChain PulseX.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a major lawsuit filed against him by the SEC, dismissed.
Wow, that's a big development.
I know.
Even if Hart himself is kind of a polarizing figure in the
Mm.
crypto community.
So the SEC was alleging that he raised over $1 billion
Yeah.
through unregistered securities offerings.
Right.
But the judge ruled that they failed to prove his project specifically targeted U.S. investors.
Interesting.
What does this mean for the average crypto enthusiast out there? Should they be celebrating Hart's victory?
It's not so simple. While the dismissal could set a precedent for future SEC actions and, raise some questions about their jurisdiction in this increasingly global crypto space,
Right.
it's important to remember that this is just one court case.
Right.
The broader regulatory landscape is still very much in flux, and this doesn't absolve Hart of all the criticisms and controversies surrounding his projects.
So proceed with caution.
Definitely.
Don't just jump on the hype train.
Yeah. Critical thinking and informed judgment are super crucial in this space. Don't just follow the herd. Do your own research and understand the risks.
Okay, now let's switch gears and head over to the UAE, where we're seeing a totally different approach to crypto regulation playing out.
All right, sounds good.
Let's jet set over to the Middle East and see what's happening there.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It seems like the UAE is really embracing crypto. They're aiming to establish themselves as like a global hub
Yeah.
for this whole burgeoning industry. And they're taking a very proactive approach to regulation, trying to find that sweet spot, between fostering innovation and mitigating risk.
We were just talking about Richard Hart and the dismissal of the SEC lawsuit against him.
Right.
Do you think that case will have any bearing on how the UAE approaches regulation?
It's certainly possible. I mean, regulators all over the world are watching these legal battles very closely, trying to figure out how to apply these existing securities laws to this new and rapidly evolving asset class.
Right.
So the UAE could definitely take some cues from this case as they develop their own framework.
It's like everyone is learning as they go.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the rules of the game while the game itself is constantly changing.
That's a great way to put it. And it really highlights the importance of collaboration and communication between regulators and industry players and even everyday users.
Right.
We need to be having a dialogue, sharing knowledge, learning from each other's experiences.
Speaking of learning from experience, let's talk about Bybit, the crypto exchange that recently suffered that huge $1.4 billion hack.
Oh, yeah.
Despite this massive security breach, they've received, in principle, approval to establish a virtual asset platform in the UAE.
Wow, talk about a roller coaster.
I know.
It really underscores, those inherent risks that are still present in this space and the need for robust security measures. It also raises some questions about the UAE's vetting process, and the criteria they're using to assess the trustworthiness of these platforms.
It makes you wonder if maybe they're prioritizing speed over security, eager to attract these big players like Bybit to solidify their position as a crypto hub.
It's a valid concern. However, it's important to remember that this in-principle approval is just the first step.
Okay.
Bybit is still in the process of obtaining a fully operational license.
Okay.
And this hack is undoubtedly going to factor into that final decision.
So this could be a defining moment for both Bybit and the UAE.
Yeah.
Will Bybit be able to regain the trust of users and investors after such a massive security breach?
Right.
And will the UAE use this as an opportunity to strengthen their regulatory framework and prove that they're really serious about fostering a safe and secure crypto ecosystem?
It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds. This incident could actually strengthen the UAE's position in the long run.
Okay.
By taking decisive action and demonstrating a real commitment to security and accountability.
Right.
They could earn the respect of the global crypto community and attract even more reputable players to their shores.
It's a high-stakes game for sure, with a lot riding on the outcome.
It is.
But it's not just about Bybit in the UAE.
Yeah.
This hack has sent ripples throughout the entire industry, reminding everyone about the importance of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So what steps can platforms take to better protect themselves and their users?
Well, regular security audits and penetration testing are an absolute must.
Okay.
Platforms need to be proactive in identifying and patching vulnerabilities. And it's not just about the technology itself. Human error is often the weak link.
Yeah.
Investing in employee training and awareness programs is crucial. Even the most sophisticated security systems can be compromised.
Right.
If someone falls for a phishing scam or unwittingly downloads malware.
So it's a combination of technical safeguards and human vigilance.
Exactly.
What about regulation? What role can regulators play in enhancing security?
Well, clear guidelines and standards for cybersecurity practices are essential.
Well,
we need to move beyond these vague pronouncements and really get into the nitty-gritty, what constitutes adequate security for these crypto platforms.
Right.
Things like mandatory security audits, data encryption standards, incident response protocols, all of that should be codified into law.
It sounds like a very comprehensive approach is needed.
It is.
With a lot of collaboration between platforms and regulators and even users themselves.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. And as the crypto space continues to mature, we can expect to see even more sophisticated security measures emerge.
Right.
From advanced cryptography to decentralized security solutions that leverage the power of the blockchain itself.
It's encouraging to hear that innovation is happening on the security front as well. Now let's zoom back out to the global market. We talked earlier about that shift in sentiment.
Right.
From extreme fear to neutral. What factors besides the Trump announcements might be contributing to this change?
Well, remember how we mentioned that decentralized finance volume and dominance were comparatively low?
Right.
That suggests a degree of caution among investors, maybe a wait-and-see approach as the regulatory landscape unfolds. Stablecoin volume, on the other hand, was significantly higher, indicating a potential flight to safety amidst all this uncertainty.
So it seems like investors are hedging their bets, looking for stability while keeping an eye on the evolving regulatory situation.
Exactly. And let's not forget the psychological factor. The market was in extreme fear territory just a few days ago.
Right.
That kind of sentiment is rarely sustainable for very long.
Right.
A bounce back, even a partial one, was almost inevitable.
Like a rubber band snapping back after being stretched too far.
Exactly.
It's not just about sentiment, though. There are real developments happening, especially in the decentralized exchange space.
Yeah, absolutely.
We briefly touched on Uniswap reclaiming its top spot in terms of 24-hour trading volume. This suggests continued interest and activity in DeFi, despite the overall market sentiment. It's a reminder that innovation in this space continues,
It does.
regardless of the political or regulatory headwinds.
It's almost like a separate ecosystem evolving and adapting at its own pace.
In a way, it is. I mean, DeFi
Yep.
is fundamentally about decentralization,
Right.
about empowering individuals and removing these intermediaries.
Yeah.
That ethos continues to drive development even as the broader crypto market grapples with,
Yeah.
regulatory uncertainty and security concerns.
It's just really interesting to see.
So while some investors might be seeking stability in stablecoins or waiting for clear signals from regulators, others are forging ahead in the DeFi space, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
That's the beauty of crypto. It's such a multifaceted ecosystem with different players, motivations, and levels of risk tolerance. There's something for everyone, from the cautious institutional investor to the DeFi trailblazer.
And that diversity is what makes it so fascinating.
It is.
Speaking of diversity, let's talk about the top American crypto tokens.
Yeah.
We've got Solana Circle, USDC Cardano,
Yeah.
and even Dogecoin holding strong in the top 5.
It's a fascinating mix. You've got these established players like Solana and Cardano,
Right.
which are known for their technological innovation and their strong communities.
Yeah.
And then alongside them, you've got the meme-powered Dogecoin, which continues to defy expectations. It just goes to show that the crypto market is full of surprises.
It really is. And let's not forget about Circle USDC, the stablecoin that's been quietly gaining ground.
All right.
It's currently the 3rd largest stablecoin by volume after Tether and First Digital USD, FDUSD.
The rise of USDC is definitely noteworthy. It points to a growing trend in the stablecoin space, the emergence of these regulated and transparent alternatives to Tether. Investors are increasingly looking for stability backed by real assets and clear regulatory oversight.
That's not just about being pegged to the US dollar anymore.
Yeah.
It's about trust and credibility.
Precisely. And as the crypto market matures, we can expect to see even more innovation and competition in the stablecoin space.
Yeah.
This is ultimately good news for users because it provides more choice and leads to a more robust and stable ecosystem.
Now let's circle back to that crypto summit that Trump is hosting on March 7th.
Okay.
We know it's supposed to bring together, top industry leaders and officials.
Right.
But what concrete outcomes can we realistically expect from this gathering?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but we can speculate based on the stated goals of the summit, which include clear regulations, innovation, and economic freedom in digital assets. We'll probably hear a lot about the U.S. leading the way in crypto and fostering a favorable regulatory environment, but will it actually translate into any real policy changes?
Right.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It could just be a lot of talk and buzzwords.
It's possible. However, the summit could also be an opportunity for the administration to, lay out their vision for crypto regulation more concretely.
Okay.
And get feedback from these key industry players. It might lead to, the formation of task forces or working groups to address specific issues like stablecoin regulation, DeFi oversight, cybersecurity standards, those kinds of things.
So it's a potential step towards more concrete action.
It is.
But we'll have to wait and see what actually materializes.
Yeah.
It's like a game of chess with each move setting up the next.
Exactly. And it's not just about the U.S. The global crypto landscape is incredibly interconnected.
Right.
What happens in one country can have ripple effects across the world.
Yeah.
Those closed investigations against Gemini and others by the SEC that could influence regulatory approaches in other jurisdictions. And events like the Bybit hack, those serve as cautionary tales for the entire industry.
It's a constant interplay of forces, with technological innovation and regulatory actions and market sentiment all shaping the direction of crypto. And that's what makes it so captivating.
It is.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the human stories, the geopolitical implications, the potential to reshape the financial system as we know it.
It's huge.
Speaking of reshaping the financial system, let's take a closer look at those 2 big developments in the UAE we touched on earlier.
Okay.
First, we have the HMP and Aquanow partnership, launching the nation's first regulated crypto payment gateway for businesses.
Yeah, this is a major step towards mainstream adoption in the region. It signals that crypto is moving beyond just speculation and trading and into the realm of everyday transactions.
And it's not just any payment gateway. It's specifically designed for businesses, which suggests a focus on larger transactions and really integrating crypto into existing business operations.
Exactly. They specifically mention sectors like real estate manufacturing and retail as potential beneficiaries.
Wow.
These are industries where cross-border payments, supply chain management,
Right.
streamlining transactions, all that could be significantly impacted by crypto adoption.
So it's not just about buying your morning coffee with Bitcoin.
No,
It's about transforming how businesses operate on a fundamental level.
exactly. And the fact that it's all happening under the watchful eye of regulators like VAR and FSRA,
Right.
that adds a layer of legitimacy and trust.
Okay.
It's a clear signal that the UAE is serious about fostering a responsible and sustainable crypto ecosystem.
But even with regulation, there are still inherent risks associated with crypto. Right.
Of course, volatility is a major concern for businesses.
Okay.
Imagine accepting a large payment in crypto,
Yeah.
only to see its value plummet the next day.
Right.
That could be disastrous for their cash flow and profitability.
That's a good point. And what about consumer protection?
Yeah.
If something goes wrong with a crypto transaction, who is responsible?
These are all valid concerns that need to be addressed as crypto becomes more integrated into our daily lives.
Yeah.
And that's where regulation plays a crucial role.
Okay.
Clear guidelines on consumer protection, dispute resolution,
Right.
insurance mechanisms, all of that is essential to foster trust and widespread adoption.
So while this crypto payment gateway is a very exciting development, it also highlights the need for a robust regulatory framework to mitigate the risks and ensure a level playing field for all participants.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of regulatory frameworks,
Yeah.
let's not forget about Bybit and their in-principle approval to operate in the UAE.
It's hard to believe they received that approval just 3 days before suffering that $1.4 billion hack.
Yeah, talk about bad timing.
I know.
It definitely raises some questions about Bybit's security practices
Well-
and the due diligence process of the UAE regulators. But remember, this approval was just the first step.
Okay.
Bybit is still in the process of obtaining a fully operational license.
So there's still time for the regulators to assess the situation
Right.
and potentially impose additional requirements or even revoke the approval if necessary.
That's right. And this incident could actually strengthen the UAE's regulatory framework in the long run.
Oh.
You know, they now have a real-world example to learn from.
Right.
And they can refine their approach to ensure that similar incidents are less likely to occur in the future.
It's like a trial by fire.
Yeah.
But hopefully they could emerge from it with a more robust and resilient crypto ecosystem.
That's the goal.
Right.
And it's a reminder that regulation isn't about stifling innovation. You know, it's
Right.
about creating a framework where innovation can flourish safely and responsibly.
So it seems like the UAE is walking a tightrope,
They are.
trying to balance the excitement and potential of crypto with the need for careful oversight and risk mitigation.
Absolutely. And it'll be fascinating to see how they navigate this complex landscape in the coming months and years. Their success or failure could have major implications for the global crypto space.
Now, shifting gears back to the U.S., we talked about Trump's push to make the U.S. a global leader in crypto.
Right.
But what are the other major players doing?
Yeah,
Where does China fit into all of this?
that's a great question. China has had a complicated relationship with crypto. You know, they've cracked down on crypto mining and trading, but they've also been actively exploring the potential of blockchain technology, particularly for their central bank digital currency,
Right.
their CBDC.
So they're wary of decentralized cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin,
Yeah,
but they're embracing the underlying technology for their own purposes.
exactly. And China's approach is likely to influence other nations as they develop their own CBDC strategies. It's a potential power play with countries vying for control
Right.
over the future of money.
It's almost like a digital arms race with each nation trying to position themselves for dominance in this emerging digital economy.
That's not far off the mark. And it's not just about technology, you know. It's about economic power, political influence, even national security.
So as the crypto landscape continues to evolve,
Uh-huh.
we can expect to see this geopolitical dimension become even more prominent.
Absolutely. And it's something that investors, businesses, and policymakers need to be acutely aware of.
Right.
You know, the crypto world is no longer a niche experiment.
Right.
It's a global force with the potential to reshape the world as we know it.
And that's a perfect segue to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We've covered the market trends, the regulatory landscape, the technological innovations,
Right.
the geopolitical forces at play.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the bigger picture? What are the ethical and societal implications
Yeah.
of this rapidly evolving technology? We'll explore that in part 3.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive,
Mhm.
from market trends and regulatory battles
Yeah.
to technological innovations
Right.
and even geopolitical power plays.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey
It has.
through this whole crypto landscape. And
Yeah. It's clear that this technology has the potential to just disrupt,
yeah,
like, every industry and facet of our lives.
exactly. And as we wrap up this exploration, I want to shift gears a little bit and
Mhm.
get kind of philosophical.
Yeah.
What are the broader societal implications of this whole crypto revolution?
Right.
What does it mean for the average person, for communities,
Mm-hmm.
for the world as a whole?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. We've talked about the potential for crypto to create a more inclusive financial system,
Right.
one where, anyone with an internet connection can participate,
Yeah.
regardless of their background or their location.
Imagine a world where you don't need a bank account to send or receive money,
Right.
where you have full control over your own assets,
Yeah.
and where financial services are accessible to everyone.
That's the dream that a lot of crypto enthusiasts have, a
Right.
world that's free from the constraints of traditional finance,
Right.
a world where individuals are really empowered and economic opportunities are more evenly distributed.
It's a powerful vision.
It is.
But let's be realistic here.
Sure.
Are we really on the verge of this utopian future?
Right.
Or are there potential downsides that we need to consider as well?
Of course, there are always, potential downsides with
Right.
any new technology,
Mhm.
especially a transformative technology like this.
Right.
We've already touched on some of the risks, things like volatility, security, breaches, the potential for misuse by
Right.
bad actors. But there are also these broader societal implications that
Right.
we really need to grapple with.
For example, one concern that's often raised is the environmental impact of crypto mining.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Some cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, require massive amounts of energy
Yeah.
to process those transactions.
Right.
This has led to concerns about carbon emissions and the sustainability of the
Mm.
technology as a whole.
It's a valid concern and one that the industry really needs to address head on. Thankfully, there are already efforts underway to develop more energy-efficient mining methods
Okay.
and explore alternative consensus mechanisms that don't rely on these
Hi.
energy-intensive proof-of-work algorithms.
We're seeing cryptocurrencies like Cardano and Ethereum moving towards more sustainable models,
Right.
which is encouraging,
It is.
but it's definitely a challenge that requires a collective effort
Yeah.
from developers, miners, investors, policymakers alike.
Absolutely. And, beyond the environmental impact, there are also
Right.
social and ethical considerations to think about. We've
Right.
talked about the anonymity that crypto offers,
Yeah.
which can be both a blessing and a curse.
It's a double-edged sword for sure.
It is. On the one hand, it can protect privacy and empower individuals,
Yeah.
especially in countries with oppressive regimes.
Right.
But on the other hand, it can facilitate all sorts of illicit activities,
Mhm.
money laundering, tax evasion,
Yeah.
even the funding of terrorism.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It really is. Striking the right balance between privacy and security is crucial.
Yeah.
And it requires collaboration
Mhm.
between governments, regulators,
Right.
and the crypto community itself.
We need to develop tools and regulations
Yeah.
that allow us to harness the benefits of crypto
Right.
without enabling those who seek to exploit it
Absolutely.
for these harmful purposes.
And there's another societal implication that we need to consider,
Okay.
and that's the potential for economic inequality.
You mean the idea that crypto could actually exacerbate existing wealth disparities
Yeah.
and further widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots?
Precisely. While crypto has this potential to empower individuals,
Right.
it can also create this whole new class of digital elites.
Right.
Those with the resources and the knowledge to invest early,
Right.
they often reap the biggest rewards,
Yeah.
while those who are late to the game or lack access to technology,
Yeah.
they can be left behind.
So it's not just about developing the technology itself.
Right.
It's about ensuring equitable access and distribution of the benefits.
Couldn't agree more. And this really ties into the critical need for financial literacy and education.
Okay.
If crypto is really going to become a mainstream phenomenon, people need to understand how it works,
Right.
the risks involved, and how to protect themselves.
It's like the early days of the internet.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hype and excitement,
Right.
but also a lot of scams and misinformation out there.
Mm-hmm.
It took time for people to learn the ropes
Right.
and for the technology to mature.
We're going through a similar phase with crypto right now.
Yeah,
It's kind of a wild west out there,
it is.
full of opportunities,
Yeah.
but also full of pitfalls.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Sure.
What should they be thinking about
Yeah.
as they navigate this rapidly changing landscape?
Well, first and foremost, I'd say stay informed.
Okay.
You know, this space is constantly evolving, so
Right.
it's crucial to stay up to date on the latest developments, whether it's market trends, regulatory changes, or technological advancements.
Don't just rely on headlines or social media hype.
Yep.
Dig deeper.
Yeah.
Do your own research.
Yeah.
Form your own informed opinions.
Exactly. And be critical.
Okay.
You know, don't believe everything you read or hear.
Right.
There's a lot of noise and misinformation out there, so it's
Right.
important to, develop your own discernment.
Crypto is a powerful tool
It is.
with the potential to reshape the world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a magic solution to all of our problems.
No.
It comes with its own set of risks and challenges.
And finally, I'd say engage in the conversation.
Okay.
The future of crypto is going to be shaped by the choices that we make as
Right.
individuals, as a community, and as a society.
Right.
So ask questions, share your thoughts,
Yeah.
and be part of this discussion. This is a pivotal moment
It is.
in the evolution of finance.
Yeah.
And we all have a role to play in shaping it.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
but there's always more to explore,
There is.
more to learn, more to discuss.
Absolutely. The crypto world is so dynamic and ever-changing,
Yeah.
It's a journey that's best navigated with an open mind,
Right.
a thirst for knowledge,
Okay.
and a healthy dose of curiosity.
Great. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of crypto.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and be part of the conversation.
And remember, the most valuable asset in the crypto world isn't Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's your own informed judgment.
That's a wrap for us. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive.